the officer request. A struggle did take place between officers and the operator, who was taken into custody. During the investigation, it was discovered that the operator provided a false name due to her license being suspended and also a felony warrant out of the city of Norwich. 22-year-old Ariana Moore of Norwich was processed at the Ledyard Police Department and then released on a $10,000 bond, just to be sent to the Norwich Police Department due to a warrant for home invasion, third-degree assault, risk of injury to a minor, and unlawful restraint.
The 8:30 a.m. report has been brought to you by the Burns Agency. With offices in Dayville and Norwich, find out why you'll buy better at Burns.
This is your local weather forecast on SNSN Internet Radio. Mostly cloudy skies today, then becoming gradually sunny with a high near 38 degrees. Wind chill values will make it feel like it's between 20 and 30 degrees with a wind from the northwest, 6 to 10 miles per hour. We can expect some increasing clouds for tonight. Nothing happening weather-wise, really, though. Temperatures dropping down to about 21. And a chance of snow on Friday sometime in the morning. Then it should change over to rain, and we could even see some patchy fog along with it. Temperatures tomorrow as high as 43 degrees.
Internet radio.
I like when they play nothing but music.
The local station.
Absolutely love the station.
The streaming news and sports network.
And good morning, everybody. It's SNSN Internet Radio. It's just after 8:30. Good morning. My name is Mike Minarski. I'll be with you right up until 10 o'clock this morning. We have a very, very diverse show today, to say the least. Patrick, can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great.
So the best way to listen to the broadcast is through our SNSN page on Facebook or our SNSN YouTube page. And it's being broadcast live as well there. So good morning, Patrick. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Hey, it's all right. It's
you're in the
it's
building.
a strange world we live in right now.
Well, it's good to see you open, doing your thing live, having the opportunity to talk to you. I think it's a good day for me.
Well, it's a good day for me too, because the nice thing about what we're doing now with the broadcast is before, initially you just come into the studio,
right?
But then COVID hit, and we started, we'll do tape delay some stuff, and then you would call in, and now we're just doing everything live.
Hey, works for me.
Right on video. So it works out well. People seem to enjoy it a lot better than the other formats. So,
well, as you know, with anything COVID related, it's so fluid that it's probably better we do it live, because if you wait 10 minutes, it's probably going to be outdated information.
Yeah. It does change that quick, doesn't it?
It does.
So let's dive right on into it. As far as COVID-19 is concerned, can you give us an update as far as our area here in Eastern Connecticut from Uncas Health District?
Sure, I'd love to. So data-wise, usually is where I start on all my meetings. So we certainly saw a surge after Christmas and into New Year's. We feel like part of that was related to people traveling and people getting tested either before they traveled or when they returned. Obviously, there could have been exposures when people were traveling, when they were visiting people, and then certainly any social gatherings they had around the holiday. So we saw that surge for basically from the more like the 1st of January through like 3 weeks after. So really through the week of the 18th, we were seeing an increase. And then starting last week in the data for January, just a reminder that we, through the state, report the data every Thursday. So that's when we can get a feel for it. And we do it in 2-week periods of time. So the last period of time was January 10th through January 23rd. And the reporting is for date of collection for those individuals that get tested. So you're really looking at whatever the date of collection was in that period of time. So it tells me that, we had kind of gotten through that tough period after the holiday. Then we're starting to see a little bit of a lull, so to speak. I know the state health department's epidemiologist referred to it as an interlude. So what he said is the level of close contacts have increasingly diminished and the number of new cases is sort of leveling off. So that's a positive. Certainly we worry about things like Super Bowl weekend and hoping that people will be, just more careful around those type of events, and hopefully they'll keep their gatherings small and continue to follow the guidance for a little bit longer as we continue to try to get the vaccine out. And obviously those cases that were positive will have a certain amount of immunity. We talk about, the 90 days after your test date that you likely would not test positive again. So there's that. And then, clearly we have the folks that are, staying home for work and staying home for school and things like that. Will keep the numbers down as well. So there's a lot of things that I think we should see as a positive, but we still see the numbers. The numbers are still relatively high. The numbers in Griswold last week, and we'll be doing a new report tonight, were 90.6 average daily case rate, and the previous week had been 94.9, so a slight decrease. And the numbers that we saw across all of our towns, all 11, went down in every single town to some extent. So again, that's a positive. So that's where we're at with the numbers. We continue to tell people, if you need a test, please, go and get tested. It's still important. And then we're starting to see some changes in the state in terms of allowances from the governor's office, which is also a positive sign. So I didn't know if you wanted to get into that a little bit as well.
Yeah, from what I understand, they're going to open up a little bit or allow some things that they hadn't been doing.
Yeah, so we found out over the weekend, governor's office said that as of Tuesday, February 2nd, the following business sectors will be subject to an 11 p.m. closing time, 7 days a week. So that includes restaurants, which will now be able to do in-person dining. Last service is at 10:30, which is an extension now. Takeout and delivery can continue past that time through the 11. 24-hour diners can reopen for indoor dining and breakfast at 5 a.m. They said entertainment and recreation venues, which include movie theaters, bowling alleys, performing arts theaters, are now allowed to reopen, and indoor and outdoor events at commercial venues will be subject to the same time as well. So, the details of that, we're happy to, talk to people as much as we can. Just a reminder, all of the sector rules are posted on the Department of Economic and Community Development's website. They're really the ones who control the sector rules and, where things go. We just provide some guidance around it and try to make sure our restaurants and others know. I've got to give a lot of credit to people like Angela Adams, who's at the Norwich Area Chamber of Commerce. As soon as we get updated information, she goes out of her way to make sure that all of the membership is aware of it. I know DECD sends out information. The Connecticut Restaurant Association sends out things to their members. But the important part is just communicating that and making sure people are aware of what the guidance is and when it's updated. I will say on the DECD website, so we never, and this is how it goes sometimes, is we never got an email, any heads up that this was the change that was coming. We saw it in the news over the weekend, pretty much like everybody else. Went to the DECD website, had to do a little digging because it wasn't real clear about the change. They didn't read it. They didn't say changed as of and put a flashing on it. So it does take some work. So we'll try to help out as best we can. And sometimes what we do is we get a phone call from somebody saying, did you hear there was a change? And then we do a little research and get back to them. So, again, we're not always the first to hear everything, but we'll do the best we can with the information we have.
So as far as restaurants are concerned,
Yep.
It seems like that seems to be the industry that's been the hardest hit in the state.
I think, we're hearing from other states, even in New York, I know in parts of New York City, they weren't allowing any indoor dining, and now they're just starting to allow minimum numbers of people indoor. Once obviously winter came, that made things beyond impossible for people to, expect folks to be eating outdoors, even if they had heaters. Clearly the weather this week is a perfect example. So Our thing is we just want people to do it safely. I think the businesses have been incredibly responsive and trying to do it the right way. Their goal is to be open. Their goal is to be able to do business. They don't want to have to close. They don't want to have an outbreak. So it serves a purpose in that it encourages everyone to be compliant. They want their staff to be safe. They want their customers to be safe. They want people to feel comfortable when they're there. So I think it's been a good partnership between us and these food service establishments, just trying to make sure that they are keeping people as safe as possible.
Can you go ahead and I know I've asked you this question in the past, but just for people that have not heard the answer or the advice, we know now that restaurants will last service, like you just said, at 10:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit of an uprising when it was 8:30,
Mm-hmm.
and everything was closed at 9 o'clock, which hurt, of course, the bar, the bars and the clubs and that kind of stuff,
Right.
and those types of places. Can you give us the reasons why those directives were set in place to begin with?
Yeah, well, I think the concern obviously is, when they talk about establishments where there's alcohol being served, there's always concern that, people tend to sit for extended amounts of time while they're drinking. They tend to be less compliant when they're drinking alcohol over a period of time. So there was concern, I know, about that. The assumption is that when people go out to drink versus sometimes when they're going out to eat, that they're doing it at later hours because it's, sort of caps the night to some extent. So I think that all that was involved. And I think the focus was on, getting meals into people and making the food available to folks so that, they wanted to focus on that. Certainly the establishments that focus on the service of alcohol tend to do a lot of the other things that go along with the bar type establishment, which may be, playing pool, doing darts, dancing, music. So a lot of that wasn't consistent with what the sector rules were allowing. But being able to sit together at a table, wear your mask when you're walking in, sitting down and dining, being separate away from people, there's not the movement of people in the establishment. I believe all that was what was contributing to those decisions. I also know that in those restaurants where there's a cap on what time people can dine until, that there's always been the understanding that they basically have to stop seating people at a certain hour because they recognize that they don't want to have somebody sit and then 5 minutes later they tell them, okay, get up, it's time to go. So, a lot of it is planning for them as well. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it for an establishment. We understand that. Where to put tables, how many tables to have, whether or not they want outdoor dining versus indoor dining. Are they allowed to have outdoor dining versus indoor dining? If they have takeout versus not takeout, is it financially viable to do that for a period of time? And then again, how to seat people within the establishment and do it appropriately, where to put up barriers, where barriers are required, what they're supposed to do with staff in terms of testing and monitoring and all of the different things that go with it. So I guess the general public should be feeling like, hey, if an establishment is making the effort to be open and provide food service to us, that we need to recognize all of the work that's being done to do that. And I think just acknowledging them, we talk about all the essential superheroes and the folks that are putting themselves out there and doing a lot of work for all of us. But I think sometimes those food service establishments are forgotten, in the salons and the barbershops and these other places where, it may not be deemed essential, but certainly it's something that we need in order to be able to function as a society. And we want to make sure that we're, continuing to feel like we're moving forward. And also we want to make sure that these businesses survive so they're there when things get better. So all of that contributes to the idea that, we want to make sure that we continue to provide business to these folks so we can get them through what I'm sure is a very tough time. So that way they're there when we're able to all get back together and go back to operating a little bit more normally.
There's a question in the chat room. Can you see the chat room?
I can't.
Yourself?
I see it, but I don't see the questions in it. Okay,
I'm gonna throw one up, but it deals with vaccines, but we'll get to that in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
What I would like to know is, with
Actually, like
restaurants opening
I
up.
think I just figured it out. I think I was in private and I should have been in comment. I can
Got
see
it.
it.
All right. So when we go from restaurants from extending hours from where they were a week ago to now, what indicators does Uncas Health or the state Connecticut Department of Health, what do they look at to say, okay, well, we feel safe enough that we can go ahead and extend these hours out for businesses and people to go out and eat out and have a drink or two?
Mhm. So first, just so you understand, it's not Uncas Health that's making that decision. So, we're really focused on enforcing the public health code.
See, I asked that on purpose, just like that, because I think a lot of people think that it is Uncas Health, just like, it's Ledgelight or Northeastern District Department of Health, in Northeastern Connecticut.
Right. There's subcommittees at the state level that are addressing all of these various things, whether it be vaccine administration, reopening rules, everything sector related has multiple state agencies involved in that discussion. DPH has a seat at the table, but they're only one voice at the table. For the most part, it's a woman by the name of Lori Matthew at the state who participates in most of those committee level discussions. And then the DECD will take the lead on the sector rules. And then typically what they do is provide some guidance based on what they're seeing data wise. So whether they're seeing decrease in number of cases in an area or statewide, whether they're seeing a decrease in hospitalizations, whether they're seeing a decrease in the positivity rate of tests. So all of those things contribute. And then obviously making sure that we feel comfortable that we're starting to vaccinate the community at a higher rate, which we're hopefully doing to some extent. So I'm sure all of that contributes to it. And then it's also based on the number of complaints that they're seeing at the state level, how much enforcement is needing to be done with establishments. So they monitor all of that. And that's why from the beginning, we've been encouraging people to contact 211 to begin the complaint process if they have a complaint. And it's for multiple reasons. One is so that that complaint is sent to the right individual or the right agency to follow up on it. The 211 folks, they're managing, which sector rule it falls under and which is the right agency to address a problem. But they also maintain lists. So that way the state can take a look at it and say, it may not be an Uncas Health issue. It may not be a restaurant, but maybe it's a business. Is it a mask wearing issue, or is it, that they're not reporting illness? Is it, something else that's an issue where there's too many people in a particular building that shouldn't be there? They take that information down and share it at the state level, and that's part of them making decisions. The other part is they don't make decisions regionally for the most part. They're statewide decisions. So if things are not going great in one part of the state, it may impact the decision on whether or not things move forward in another part of the state. So all of that goes into the decision making, and then ultimately it goes up to the governor's office to approve the changes. And then, like I said, the governor's office ultimately will communicate the information. And then we are the ones who will answer the local questions, like I said, to the best of our ability, because, be it the health district or, town hall with the first selectman's office. In some cases, it's through the state police or local police. We all will play a role in communicating the right information. And, if we need to do enforcement, we will. But our preference is always education first, and hoping that people are making the decisions they're making based on the information they have. I think it's very rare that anybody's intentionally trying not to follow a rule. More often than not, it's just a miscommunication or a lack of understanding.
Restaurants are operating now at what, 25%, 50% capacity?
Oh, geez. You know what?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. My chief sanitarian's been handling all that for me since I'm doing vaccinations.
Throwing Patrick a curveball.
Yeah, no, well, it's not a curveball. I should have it off the top of my head, but I can look it up and get it back to you. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. I think it's the first time I've ever stumped you.
No, well, you know what? I've got so many sheets of paper in front in case you asked a question, but I thought it was going to be all vaccinations. So I'd have to talk to Mike and make sure I have the right information about the restaurant numbers. Generally, what we do is, because we're so involved right now in the vaccination part of things, and obviously the contact tracing part of things. The environmental staff has been really handling all of the restaurant rules in terms of communication. So if you call me, in all likelihood, I'm going to refer it to one of the sanitarians to do the follow-up on those environmental questions. And I'm going to refer it to them in terms of enforcement, just because we're basically straight out every day now trying to either do the communication piece like we are here, or we're on calls trying to get more information, or we're doing clinics, and we've been doing at least 2 clinics a week now for several weeks. So that's really been my focus, is making sure that functions well. And then again, like I said, if there's a question people have, certainly we'll get it to the right person to follow up with them.
Let's jump into vaccines, if you don't mind, for a second.
Sure.
There's a lot of people have gotten the first.
Yep.
From what I understand, there's a shortage of the second vaccine or the second shot, whether it be Pfizer or Moderna. Is there some truth to that, or is it not true?
So certainly there's been some challenges, and I think a lot of it's been around what they have is the vaccine administration management system the state uses was a challenge for all of us from the beginning, because we first had to learn it. It had challenges that had to be addressed from a technical point of view. So each week they'd be doing updates to the system to try to fix things or add things, and that was certainly a lot of work. The hospitals, for the most part, are using their Epic or whatever their health information or their collection system is, and then they're going through, for example, with Bacchus or Hartford Healthcare, it's through MyChart to make appointments. In many cases, those appointments aren't necessarily talking to the VAMS, the vaccine system that others are using, the way it probably should be. And it's been an interesting rollout. The one thing I would say to folks is the way it's working now is, and it should have been working this way from the beginning, but there were challenges, and I'll be happy to talk about those challenges. But basically, when you go to a clinic now, you are likely to get a second dose appointment at your first dose clinic, which will make things a lot easier. It'll make people less anxious knowing that they already have that appointment scheduled. But part of the challenge was, first, we've been told we would be pushed vaccine for those first dose people for their second dose of vaccine. And we've been making sure we make every effort to do that. But you also have to schedule a clinic out 4 weeks later if you're doing the Moderna vaccine. And that can be a challenge because, many of us aren't using a facility that we own or operate as part of our clinic operation. So we have to finalize the plans for using a clinic that's 4 weeks out. We have to know how much vaccine we are going to receive. We have to make sure that we have the appropriate place to locate our vaccines. I may have talked to you about this maybe a month ago, but we had a challenge because we started doing our vaccinations and we have a vaccine refrigerator. We were told in the beginning Moderna could be stored in that refrigerator. We were under the impression that we could use it because we have our vaccine for children program, and we've always used that refrigerator, which is approved. It has our logs, et cetera. After week 1 of doing our vaccines, we were told we needed a vaccine freezer. And the justification for that was they were concerned that if there was a power outage or a loss of power to the place where the refrigerator was located, that the vaccine would likely survive better if it came from a frozen state and was thawing than it would if it was already in a refrigerated state and then went out of temperature. So that created a challenge for us from the beginning. We ended up with much appreciation. We're able to work out an agreement with Bacchus Hospital, and there wasn't a lot of working out. They were very open to saying, whatever you need, just let us know. So their pharmacy actually stores our vaccine for us right now in their freezer. But then we had to provide logs to the state health department to show that their freezer would meet the requirements, to show that they had the space to be able to store it, to show that we had a written agreement so that we would, if something happened, that we would be able to get a call and those types of things. So we finally got that agreement in place, and then we placed an order for a freezer. So the freezer finally arrived at the end of last week. So now we have to start providing logs to the state to show that this new freezer will actually provide the temperature requirements that they're supposed to. which for Moderna is the -5 to -15 Fahrenheit. Once we get that approved, then we'll be able to move the vaccine into our freezer here. But obviously we have to go and pick up the vaccine, thaw it out before we have the clinic. So again, it's just making sure that we have all of those processes in place. And then, what we do is, we monitor the weather from week to week as best we can, because that's another challenge that you have. So basically the way it works is somebody for us would schedule into this VAM system as long as they meet one of the priority groups. So right now, those priority groups are the 1A folks, which are those medical first responders, the people that work in the hospitals, et cetera, and people age 75 and over, and those that are receiving their second dose. So those are the folks that we're supposed to be doing now. So we know that we have X number of doses that we have to get out for second doses. Those are now going to be pushed to us. And then on top of that, we have to place orders. Originally, it was on Wednesdays for vaccine. Now we have to place orders on Tuesday for vaccine by noon. So we're placing orders this Tuesday for next week's vaccine clinics. So we make sure that the site has the ability to allow us to come in and do the clinic. We put it on the calendar, we order the doses, and then on Friday of that week, we find out whether or not how many new first doses we're going to receive. Up until now, we were able to say, we think we can do this many people. We ordered that many doses. In some cases, we received those doses. In some cases, we were shorted just based on what the state had available. So then you either cancel a clinic because you have less, or you keep a clinic because you have enough. And then what we do is we upload our clinic into the VAM system. And then as soon as we know we have the doses, we activate the clinic. So short story long, I guess, is initially when we were trying to plan for how we were going to do the second doses, we were worried about whether we were going to hold the clinic, whether we were going to have the doses. All of those things were factoring in. So what we were doing was emailing the people that had a first dose clinic with us saying, hey, we're going to be uploading our clinic and activating it. We'll be doing it at such and such a time. We want you to be able to schedule your second dose with us. So it's going to be up and running. Please, schedule your dose. Now what we do is we schedule a time with them at the clinic, and we hold it for them. The interesting part is we've had people even in the last few clinics saying, well, I don't want to come to your clinic. I drove all the way from Brantford to get here. I'd rather just go closer to Brantford so I don't have to come all the way back to your place. So, well, the state really wants you to come back to ours because they're giving us your dose in 4 weeks. And if you don't take your dose, now we're stuck with an extra one. We have to figure out what to do. The other thing we've had to do is we'll schedule what's called in our instance, it's a 75 plus or 1A clinic. And then it's a second dose only clinic in order to make sure that the folks that need a second dose are able to get a second dose. So again, it's complicated, but it's something we're trying to work through and manage. Ideally, we would be able to just show up and have the vaccine ready to go and give it to folks, and it's not always that easy. We also hear, people asking us about the challenges of, getting the vaccine. So once we open the vial or we make it available, we have 6 hours to get it into somebody's arm.
Then you actually have to throw it away, don't you?
Well, so we have yet to have to do that, and there's a lot of work involved, which more often than not means staying a little bit later. We've made every effort not to start vaccinating people that aren't in the priority group. So we've been working with, in particular, the Norwich Senior Center Director keeps a list. I've now talked to Tina this week about how she can help me to start making a list for Griswold. I was talking to, on Monday, Montville Senior Center and how they can support us in terms of making sure people get into the system. But ideally, somebody would already be in the VAMS system. But to show you how complicated it is, when we initially did it, we would get people that were over 75 and we bring them into the clinic. And then these folks don't have access to a computer. They don't have a smartphone. So we would have to assist them in creating an email account. So they create a Hotmail account, a Yahoo account, so on and so forth, Gmail account. And then they would be put into our system. We would have to enter them in. Then they would go back and they had to do a screening form. So then you go in with the new email that they have and their new password, go into VAMS, create a VAMS username and password. Now they have their new username and password twice. And then they have to fill out their form. Once they complete their form, they show up in our system. They can then come over to registration. I have to put their new email address in. There always seems to be a challenge. They didn't push a button, something happens. So we go back and check it. We finally get them activated. Then they can go to the station and get their vaccine. And if you don't have a history of allergies, no medical issues that would cause you to potentially have a risk of having a reaction, then we have you wait for 15 minutes. If you do, then you wait for 30 minutes. So if we're, at the end of the clinic and we're saying, geez, we have an open vial, we have 8 doses left that we have to use, that's when we start scrambling. But what we don't want is people be waiting outside looking for doses. And so what we typically are doing now is we call on an upcoming clinic and say, look, you're already in our system. You already have a scheduled appointment. Would you be willing to come earlier? So we've been getting people saying, yeah, I'll drive up. I'm 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away. We wait for them. They come up, we give them the vaccine. It takes about 45 minutes. So we spend the extra time with them. And then that opens up that other clinic spot for somebody else who wants to make an appointment. So that way everybody's in the system and we don't have this challenge that, we heard the stories of, they're grabbing somebody off of the street and saying, do you want a vaccine? And that's not what we want to be doing. We want people to understand that, there's a priority group that needs to be addressed. We're doing our very best to get to that priority group. While everybody ultimately will get vaccinated, and we want everybody to ultimately get vaccinated, we've had people come into our clinic and say, when I see the age and fragility of the folks that are sitting here in the observation area after they've been vaccinated, they said it really puts in perspective why these folks need to be prioritized. And we hear stories of people saying, I haven't been out of my house in 9 months. The only reason I came out was for this particular clinic. And it's sad, and people want that. And just our people in observation, they said that they're tired by the end of the clinic from talking to all these folks that have just been looking for an opportunity to talk to somebody. So they stand, they have a conversation, they make sure they're okay, and then they help them out to their car. And the interesting part with the 75 and over group is we have to make sure our spacing is good. We want people to be safe. What we find with the 75 and over is, for the most part, they bring a family member, a caregiver of some sort with them. So it obviously adds somebody else into the line. So we want to acknowledge that now when we're doing the spacing. And then the other part is, because you have to use a unique email, that means, Mr. and Mrs. McCormack can't get their appointment at the same time with the same email address. So Mr. McCormack goes in and he makes his appointment, and then you start the process for Mrs. McCormack. Well, now she finds an appointment in our clinic and it's 40 minutes later because people are jumping in so quickly to make those appointments. So now we've had to try to accommodate folks who come together in a car, their husband and wife, and we bring them in together. It doubles up an appointment's time earlier potentially, but then it opens up a time later. So there's been logistical challenges with that group of people. There's also a lot of ambulatory issues, a lot of auditory issues. They don't necessarily always hear what we're saying, and obviously we have to wear the masks. So we've done our best to be able to address that challenge. We have the wheelchairs on site. We're assisting people in that way. We've had to put chairs in the line to allow people to be able to sit as they're waiting for their appointment. But I think for the most part, by the time you arrive till the time you get vaccinated, can be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. So there's not a lot of standing around, but at the same time, there's not a lot of those people over 75 that have the ability to stand for an extended amount of time. So just trying to give you a feel for all of the logistical issues that we have to deal with.
It's a lot.
It is. And I give a lot of credit to all of these facilities, because the challenge is taking a space that wasn't designed for that purpose in many cases and making it accommodate putting people in large numbers into a clinic setting. Keeping in mind that a lot of our points of distribution sites that we had planned for our large distribution were always in school settings, gymnasiums, places like that. And clearly when you're in a pandemic and you're trying the best you can to keep students in school, then you don't want to be necessarily using a large gym space if you can avoid it, to make sure that you don't have public going into a space where you have students and The other thing with the 75 and over is they generally want to be getting their vaccination before, say, 4 o'clock, because they don't want to be out at night. They challenges with driving, challenges with, everything that goes along with it being dark out, getting from car to door. So that's another issue. So we generally have been doing them during the weekdays on a 9:30 to 3. And then, like I said, we usually end up there for another hour, making sure we use the doses. And then we did our first Saturday clinic last week, which actually went very well. The other part of it to remember is we use volunteers quite a bit for our clinics. So we have staff that rotate into the clinics and they're assisting at the clinics. We have staff that are always at the clinics, including myself. We have Medical Reserve Corps volunteers who do both medical and non-medical support at the clinics, and they're an incredible group of people. And then we have Three Rivers nursing students have been helping us at the clinics, and they're required to have a preceptor, so they have to have somebody from the faculty there to observe and assist them. So they've been assisting us at the clinics. Norwich Public Utilities has been helping us at every one of our clinics as volunteers, and they've been providing IT support. So when those folks have those challenges around the computer, they assist them. And then we have the senior centers that have all been supporting us. Every one of our towns have offered to help. They're offering to drive folks if they can. They're offering to make appointments for people if they can. And very often when those senior centers do that, they're keeping a file that includes, as long as the person's okay with it, keeping a file with their name, their address, their phone number, that's a good phone number to reach them at, the password for their email, the obviously the username for VAMS and their password for VAMS. And then that way, if they run into a problem on their way to the clinic or at the clinic, we have a good number to call and we can look up their information to help them getting into the clinic. And then, we've had people yesterday, I didn't feel well, I'm not going to be able to come today. We have to try to reschedule those folks. We have people that said, I don't feel comfortable driving, it's snowing a bit, so I'm going to wait a little bit. Can you fit me in later? So all the challenges associated with getting somebody vaccinated.
Patrick, we got to move on. We got our next guest already in the hole.
That's it. Well, I talk myself silly. I'm sorry.
Patrick, say hi to Joe. Joe's a time traveler.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Uh-oh.
Hey, how you doing?
No problem. All right. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right. Good luck for the.
There was a lot of information to cover there, man. I'll tell you.
You got it. Well, anytime you need me, I'll come back on.
You got to do a TED talk or something like that.
A Patrick talk.
A Patrick talk.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Patrick.
Take care.
Who's there? Good morning, Joe.
Hey, what's up, man? Sorry, I was trying to get all this situated.
You made it.
I did. I'm mobile today, so trying to get all this set up was, it was at the last minute, Mike. So I apologize.
My God, Joe, you can time travel 19 years into the past, but you can't get into a chat room. Come on.
I know, right?
How have you been? You okay?
Yeah, I've been all right. Where's Paul? I see no Paul.
Nah, he's out there. I know he's very interested in listening to this stuff. He'll never admit it.
Yeah, I know.
He'll never ever admit it.
He acted really enthused when I was on first. He was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, it's great."
Whatever. Well, he's 150, so
you had to poke and prod him for questions.
So how you feeling this morning? You're chipper last night.
Yeah, I was good last night. Got a lot of things going on. The whole goal here is to put this message out for everyone. I know everyone's heard the additive knowledge is power, but in this case, it's very important. So, yeah, got a lot of good things going on.
So you said you're mobile this morning. What do you running around somewhere?
Well, I just like everyone else, I have to make funds and be able to live. It wasn't like I was set up with millions of dollars, but so yeah, I'm just out and about today.
So let's pop into some things here.
Okay, let's do it.
I asked you a question last night. and I said, "Why don't answer it? Today." And I was curious about this. And a lot of your videos that you make,
Yes.
you deepen your voice, and you I don't know, you turn your head a lot. It's kind of freaky.
Okay.
It's kind of freaky in how and it's almost mesmerizing, or whatever. I mean, why is it? Is there a reason why you do them that way, or
I'm
videos?
trying to get your attention. Anybody can go out and say, "Hey, I'm from the future." You're going to scroll right past that. You and I have spoke. People don't like what they don't understand.
Right.
They seem to be turned off by it, or just negate it altogether. So I'm trying to, grab your attention. Really, nothing about the future, at least from the information I'm trying to bring to you, is rainbows and sunshine. So, it kind of trying to, I don't know, set the mood, if you will.
So here we are. We're in our second month of 2021. We have a new president, President Joe Biden, and there's 11 months really to go in 2021. What kind of things? Is there anything earth-shattering that happens, or did happen in your timeline of 2021?
Yeah. So Joe Biden will step down. That definitely does take place, and the markets are due for a collapse. And I know that doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, but they pump a lot of money these last few years into the market, especially this last 12 months. So people should be ready. I am trying to do everything I can for the people that follow me, to show them how to better their financial position, because what is coming is not like 2008. It's going to be comparative to the Great Depression. So those are two really big things coming down the line, because, people voted for Joe Biden. I don't think they took a lot of time to really dive into the vice president. I don't think everybody was so eager to just get on with what was current. Let's turn the page. Let's put this whole nightmare behind us as far as 2020, COVID, everything that went on. Everyone was looking for change, but I think that they didn't really pay attention. So it's going to be much different.
What is the reason in your timeline that Joe Biden stepped down?
It's health related. I mean, it's strictly health related.
So then we'd be looking at Kamala Harris as the Madam President.
Yes, Madam President Kamala Harris. Absolutely.
And
can you hear me good? Because I had some. Can you hear me?
You fine.
Okay, great.
You're a lot more loud and clear than Patrick was before you. Could hear Patrick, but I can hear you really clear.
Good.
Vice President. Who?
Nancy Pelosi. That's a twofer right there. That's a twofer.
Hang my head in shame.
Yeah. That's and I don't. I try not to get political, at least from my perspective. This is all about you guys. It's nothing about me. But yeah, that's definitely that's a scenario. It's a scenario.
You mean when it all goes down?
Yeah, it's a very real scenario. Like, People are not going to, put it this way. A lot of people are going to be in awe at how this transpires and the weeks to follow.
What do you mean the weeks to follow? You mean the weeks after the transition?
Well, yeah, because you're going to have a whole nother slew of executive orders, and it's pretty crazy.
What kind of, like, for example, what do you remember?
Yeah.
What type of executive orders there are, or?
Well, I know I get a lot of questions about the Second Amendment. A lot of people concerned. They really want to abolish the people's rights to the Second Amendment. So that's a big push and a big change.
And this is all coming down in 2021.
2021. So when I first started this, people asked me, well, what's the best year out of all of these? And I told them
2017.
I told them, I said, you're living it. And they're like, what? 2021's the best? Yeah. I mean, it seems like a train wreck, but looking back, you're going to be like, okay. So that was the start of this crazy ride.
Now you say that in your timeline there is an economic crash.
Yes.
Stock market, whatever.
Yes.
What happens?
Well, I mean, they've pumped too much money into the economy.
Are we talking one world? Are we talking about one world currency at this point, or?
Yeah, that is coming down the line. That is the ultimate goal. But after this economic collapse, so you've already heard them talk about money being dirty, transferring this virus. A digital dollar is coming. With the digital dollar, there'll be some debt relief to kind of attempt to kickstart this, put us on a gold standard per se. I mean, it's not actually the gold standard, but it's like a reset, a debt relief to try to kickstart this economy, because it is going to flatten. We're talking 30-40% pullback to current levels. So Dow under 20,000. And I know it seems
over 30 now.
Yes, I know it seems implausible right now, but absolutely 100%. When this thing goes south, it goes very, very south.
Does it bounce back at all?
Yeah. I mean, we have a new economy, a green economy. Biden is just getting into office, just getting his feet wet. There's going to be a change, in direction. President Trump signed a lot of things into law to help natural gas and oil and industry and deregulated. Now we have a change, and really he hasn't been in office very long. So just getting started, it's a complete change in direction. But once everything starts to settle, the dust from all of this, this executive order signing and this new agenda, which way to go here, things will start to, you'll be able to see that the economy is not good. And then it will just be a sharp decline.
Here's a comment in the chat room, and I don't understand it at all. I don't know if you will, but
Okay.
More so you than me. Nasera?
Yeah, a lot of people, have been reading this or are consuming this stuff. I can only tell you what I've lived. I think there's Nasera, there's the Great Reset, there's all this information out there. I think it's people speculating and some of them, you know, get certain aspects of the future correct, but yeah, they all have some conspiracy, some far out, non-relatable things in them. So I don't know if I answered that to her liking, but I think Anella is one of my followers.
Leah, who was in the room last night, we were talking to. Remember, I was saying Leah.
Yeah. Did they cut him off because somebody put Bill Gates up? Did they cut you off, Mike? I think so. Oh, there
we are. Yeah, no, I hit the wrong button. It was me.
Okay, are you sure? Because I see
positive.
the Bill Gates
I am
name
absolutely
in there.
positive.
You know,
It was me.
You don't want to mess with that guy.
Huh?
I said you don't want to mess with that guy.
Who? Bill Gates?
Yeah.
So shall we just move on from that?
Yeah, we'll just say we'll just go next.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of things about. All right, let me ask you this: is the Illuminati real, or does that even come out?
There is a group of elites. I mean, that's yes. As far as it having, you know, Jay-Z, Beyonce, all this, no. But there is a group of elites that do make all the decisions. So when you think that your president, your vice president, all these congressmen, senators, and whatnot are making these decisions, there's someone that really does make the decisions. If you follow me,
Mm-hmm.
some ones, I should say, some ones.
Is Joe Biden actually our president?
What do you mean by that?
For example, there are I've seen some things online, you know, where he's signing executive orders, but there's no ink, and it looks like he's not actually signing it. I mean, it could be a doctored video, who knows?
Yeah.
But is he actually our president right now?
Yes,
in office, sworn in.
Yes.
Okay.
Now
Draining the. Oh, go ahead.
Now, I don't know the rules behind the swearing in. I think you have to be live and in front of this person, and you know, there's some theories out there that was completely digital and thus for not valid. So, but yeah, that never comes out to where he is. You know, someone says, "Hey, you know, this was all a sham." You know.
Okay. How does I don't know how I want to ask this. Actually, no, it's not like that. I just don't want to. Oh, by the way, Paul's in the group.
Oh, okay, Paul. I was wondering where the heck he was, but
there. Paul's 77. Paul wants to know if you can time travel him back to his 30s so he can wear his zoot suit and go ahead and disco dance.
And play with the dinosaurs. 77, my goodness. Like I told you, I don't think he would survive the trip.
Really? You mean you're talking about the actual
the
travel
physical
itself?
Yeah.
Now you said during the travel, you said you kept your eyes closed the entire time.
That is correct.
Did now you look at your username, it says Joe 7 2030.
Yes.
Which means, from what I've come to understand, is that there is 7 of you that were traveled back. Some men, some women. Did you all go to the same time frame?
Yeah, I think we okay.
And B, did you all travel together?
No, we did not travel together. But yes, we are all in the same timeline, at least, you know, from the other individuals of the 7 that I've had interaction with, and there are a few, I think we were all dropped at the same time, but certainly not the same place.
And we're talking about all over the globe.
Yes. That's my understanding.
Okay. And you each have your own objective.
We do.
Okay. Is everyone from the 7 here, or has somebody not made it here yet?
I know someone has passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, I had such person's fiance reach out to me and give me all of everything that this individual had been working on. I know that they are who they say they were. And they have
like a code or secret handshake, or
yeah, it's an equation.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they've been replaced, so I know that as well.
So they passed away in this timeline.
Yes.
Does that create a paradox?
I don't think so. Under very suspicious circumstances, though, you know. Yeah, very suspicious.
Are you concerned about your well-being?
All the time.
So they know you're here.
Yeah.
Do they know what your objective is?
No. I have never spoke it, you know.
No. I don't know if they know, because maybe they've got intel from somewhere else.
Yeah, no one else would know my objective. That is for me and myself alone. So they may have some intel on the overall objective, but not our individual objectives. So
Paul wants to know.
okay, Paul.
Can we look forward to anything positive as we look ahead?
Yeah. I mean, listen, none of this is set in stone. Just because this happened doesn't mean it needs to happen again. I mean, that is the point. You know, every individual can play a part in changing this. They have to be willing to change, be a better person. I mean, I've been saying that from day one. Everyone wants to know what it is they can do to help this along, to change the narrative. You know, small acts of kindness are contagious.
And this is the goal of the 7, correct?
To change the narrative. Yes. Because I promise you, if we stay on the path that we are headed, things are going to look very, very different for your children and their children.
So you mean the path that we are on right now?
Absolutely. The human condition is in such a state that it is alarming. I want your audience to sit back and just think of the negative interactions they've had just in the past week. Somebody cuts you off, you get the finger, somebody's rude to you, you know, at somebody that's serving you, or at a restaurant, whatever the case may be. Like, we are very selfish, self-serving, and we're at the precipice for this to be either very bad or into some unknown. You know, there was a huge push about this new level of consciousness, you know, this 5D. I don't know. I consumed a little bit of it during this time, but about this ascending. I'm never knocking anybody's beliefs, but you know, it seems like everybody.
Are we talking about interdimensional, or?
Yeah. So TikTok is full of all kinds of things for you to consume, or Instagram, or even Facebook. But this ascension to 5D, a lot of people thought that it would change the collective and that we would just wake up and be better people. At least from my experience, it hasn't happened, because I still run into very vicious people every day. And it doesn't mean in a violent way, just general, in
bad
general.
attitude. Like
Yeah,
you're pissed off.
absolutely. We're headed down a very dark hole. So each and every one of you can do your part, Hold the door for somebody, for God's sakes. When did that go away? Paul, you remember that. You're 106. You remember chivalry. I mean, things are so different.
How does Joe? How does just being nice to one another and changing your attitude change the overall narrative on where the world is heading, if it's actually being possibly controlled by other entities?
They want you to be in a negative place. Okay. Everything that you consume is very negative. You watch the news. Do you ever hear a feel-good story on the news? I mean, not anymore. I mean, it's just, I haven't heard one in a while. Mm-hmm. They want you to be in a negative place because then your attitude projects negatively. Small acts of kindness. Try to do it for a week. It might just, you might end up doing it every day. It might become habit. How that changes overall, it's all in the mindset. Fear is like the ultimate motivator. COVID, racial tension, now we got homegrown terrorism as a big thing. Constantly keeping you in that mental state of fear allows them to push along this agenda, take away your freedoms, take away your rights, not as just an American, but as a human being, and you're none the wiser because you're so focused on what's going on over here. It's the old rope-a-dope, Paul knows what I'm saying. Rope-a-dope.
I know what you're saying.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Pull like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Absolutely.
Your in your traveling experience when you went from 2030 to 2012, is that the first time you traveled?
Yes.
Did you regret it when you sat down do you stand or sit in this device?
Yeah, you stand in this device.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was you got to understand, I had just seen up close and personal life outside this planet, which, I don't even think I had a chance to properly digest that mentally, I step into this contraption.
So this is the first time you even saw these beings.
Yeah.
You'd never met with them before. There was no conversation. There was no contract signing.
No,
or anything like that.
This was the first time. I actually thought I was being taken to be detained, because I was one that, didn't want to adhere to this new way of life that's coming, this governance. When you guys start to see these hands, these almost like the United Way logo, but these hands together like this, these multicolored hands, that's the beginning of the end. Like, that's a one world order. And they'll start to push that agenda in a couple years. But I just got in here and I absolutely regretted it when the top had closed down. And
you have to climb into it.
Yeah, you actually get into this machine. It's like I say it's alive because it gives me that kind of vibe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
you crawl into it, or you go down a ladder or whatever, steps or
no ladder, but yeah. So I get into it, it closes, and yeah, I have a moment where I question everything, God, my reason for being there, humanity. Like it was just a very emotional experience.
Did they tell you what you were going to do?
As far
Did they say this is what this machine is going to do?
Yeah, I knew I was, well, okay, I got to be honest with you. I didn't even know if I was going to survive, you know, but yeah, I knew I was going to another time. I knew that I would, once this was over, that I would be in a completely different time. Absolutely.
How soon or how long did you find out that this was going to happen and you were going to take this trip before you actually did it?
I had a little bit of time to digest it. Hours, you know. You know, I obviously had buyer's remorse, you know, sitting and waiting. I thought, like I said, I went from thinking that I was going to be detained, possibly imprisoned, to here I am, you know. The conversation with these beings was not a verbal conversation. Very, very different feeling to have them speak to you. It's almost like they plug into your mind. I've never been so violated in my life from a mental aspect. Like I literally could feel them in my head, and I could feel part of their, I don't know how to say this the right way, but
energy,
part of their existence, you know. And it was the absolute most, like I said, violating feeling that I've ever had. It was a beautiful, you know, connection. Please don't get me wrong, but very scary. And it took me, when I first started doing this, coming out and speaking to people about this, it took me months to get to the point to where I could have a conversation about it, you know, because I would break down. I mean, I've never felt anything like it.
was it like you were connecting with like God?
No, because they let me know that they were not my God. Like that was the first thing that was passed to me, was to not be afraid. It's almost like I was asking questions without asking them, and they were giving me the answers. But they did, you know, it's like the first thing they said was, we're not your God. So I didn't believe that they were God, but it was almost like connecting to a machine or something. It was just a very odd sensation, you know. It was beautiful, don't get me wrong. When I look back, I know that I'm one of the few people, at least to come forward, that have had any kind of connection like this with something otherworldly.
So you weren't afraid of them?
Afraid of them, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were afraid of them?
I was scared to death. Yeah.
Okay.
The entire time.
It didn't get to a point where you actually felt comfortable with them, knowing they weren't going to hurt you.
We are at that point now, you know. It's taken some years.
Mm-hmm. Right now, we are talking to Joe. He's a time traveler from the year 2030. This is the third installment that we've been able to have him on the show. Joe, thanks for joining us this morning. We got about another 20 minutes or so. if anybody has any questions, you can certainly type them in the Facebook room or the YouTube chat room, and we can certainly pass them along to Joe. So, what is a question that you wish somebody would ask you?
That's a really good question.
Because we're all going to ask the obvious stuff. You know, it's like, what was the machine like? You know, what was the travel like? You know, what did it look like in there? Were you afraid of these beings? And you know, how do you like it here? You know, I mean, have you had a job here? You know, while you've been here, other than maybe doing your own thing.
You know, I really like the what can we do to make this better question. Because that's really, it's you as an individual. I think people get caught up in, you know, just the premise of time travel. We are not here for tourism. We are not here for experiment. You know, we are not here to gather any kind of information. We are here 100% to change the outcome of the future. It's a double-edged sword because it could go very wrong. You know, it could go very wrong. This paradox that you talk about could go very wrong, or it could go very right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't know. We don't know. But I really like that question because you as an individual, if you are listening to this, it does start with you. You play as much, if not a bigger role than any one of us, because you have control over your immediate surrounding. I promise you it's contagious. I do.
Here's a question. Oh, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Here's a question from the group from Denise. I have seen videos across the networking of people appearing out of nowhere on videos. Is that them as time travelers?
I told you last night we're on the cusp of teleportation, like being a thing from at least a material standpoint, you know, textiles, whatnot. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know what she's referring to, but you can make a camera do very amazing things. You know,
if people are kind and live their lives with love, there is no need for anyone to try to quote unquote control us. Nothing to feed their need for control, correct or right?
No, they always want control, you know. These are individuals that have everything at their beck and call. You know, they're names that you don't know. You may think you know, and you have these names in your head, you know, the Rothschilds, and these are names you don't know, like Thayer. Like these are their bloodline goes back to, you know, I mean, as far as it goes. And they have been passed information down and wealth down for generations. You know, they have everything. They want to control you. Like that is the ultimate. After that, what is next? Everlasting life. I mean, there's nothing next, you know. They want to control everything. Every aspect of your life.
Why is this timeline so important when other timelines exist at the same time?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. You know, this is where we ended up. So this is, you know.
Or did they just send 7 to this timeline and 7 to another? And
I mean, that's very possible. You know, you would have to ask CERN. because they are the ones that dabble in the multidimensional transference of data. So
Are they going to end up taking over the Earth?
who
And
is
I think
they?
that's what I think Joanne is speaking to, maybe the aliens that have gifted this technology.
No. Trust me, they could take it over. I mean, you get the sense being even in the same room that, we are in our infancy. We are in our infancy in this this galactical timeline.
You mean us as humans?
Yeah.
Okay. It's weird to think, isn't it?
It is.
We're just
starting.
babies,
Yeah, we're just starting out. They've superseded motion. That was one thing that I didn't understand, and I think is why they took such an interest in us, because perhaps, and this is just my theory, perhaps we are in our infancy, so we still have the construct for emotion, and they have, exceeded that. They've evolved past that, and they're trying to help us so, we can keep that. I got the sense that that interest was directly correlated with our ability to have emotion. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yes. I keep asking my girlfriend that. She could be one. I don't know.
she could be.
She could be, but she's a smart one.
They are here.
Now, how long have they been here? Since the beginning of time?
Yeah.
Pyramids?
Yeah, they've been here, well before that, before Sumerian. There's been civilizations here for longer than at least they tell us. How's that?
Okay. Is there a base under Antarctica?
I can't confirm it. Like, I mean, I
deny.
Well, I can't deny. Yeah. Okay. We'll go that route. I cannot confirm nor deny.
What about New Mexico?
As far as a government base?
No, as far as an alien base.
Nah, I can't confirm or deny.
Okay. So they're around somewhere.
They're here.
Have we,
They're definitely here.
Are they walking amongst us and we just don't know it? I mean, do they change their physical form or the way we perceive them? So we don't.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, that was pretty much it. I mean, do they walk amongst us right now? Do they? I mean, obviously they look different. They're humanoid, but they have a different appearance. Are they able to kind of shape shift their appearance to make it look like they're just like you and I?
I would say yes, but if I seen them in their natural form, and I don't know, they could have just changed enough for me not to totally just lose it. Okay. Then they would stand out unequivocally. No doubt. You would be like, what is that? But I get the sense that they're here, they're amongst us, they're involved, so to speak, with things at a very high level. I don't want to go down the road of conspiracy. I always call it for what it is, about having them in high levels of government. I'm not saying that, but I'm sure that they have individuals that they at least pass messages back and forth. I mean, your governments don't want you to know the truth. There's no doubt.
Do they work for humanity or do they work for the government?
No, I think they work for
They
humanity.
work for themselves.
Well, I think they work for humanity. I think they know how destructive we are, to our own peril. I believe that. So I think that they are trying to help us out. I don't know what the laws that govern the universe are. I mean, that's way beyond my pay grade, if you will. But I know that they have an interest in us sticking around.
Are we really just them that haven't evolved yet?
I get that a lot. If that is them in
That's
their
why maybe they
natural
have such
form,
an interest.
yeah, I mean, if that is them in their natural form, you can tell that there are some similarities, but there are stark differences. Like, the mouth, for instance, is nothing the same. I mean, it's just very odd because they don't communicate like us. But yeah, I think that that's a good theory, and I think it has a lot of validity. I mean, I don't know for certain. The next time I have an opportunity to connect, if you will, I'll try to ask, but I'm never able to have any control over the conversation. It's kind of like, here it is.
Perfect question to follow up. Joanne asks again, can you talk to them and ask questions?
Yeah, I can't ask questions. I've tried. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I can feel this about to happen. I get in the tub. I know it sounds odd, but I try to put my head underwater so I can drown out.
Water is a conductor.
Well, I try to drown out all the noise, because when they do this, everything is magnified. Like my sensory, all my senses are magnified. It's very odd. So noise gives me headaches. I've learned that over the past few weeks. So I try to get in the tub, put my ears in the water, and so I'll try. I've been trying. Trust me. I got some things that I want to know for me, not just all of you. For me.
Sure. I'm sure it's probably just as confusing for you.
Yeah.
So I mean, you do this, and that's that.
I'm trying to figure out why I'm even here. What sets me apart from anybody else in 2030?
Yeah. See, now I've asked you that question, and you were like, I don't know.
Yeah, I want to know. Am I destined for something, or I don't know. I mean, I got a lot of questions myself.
You know what I'm really curious about, and this is just for timeline effect, in my own head. In 2030, in our timeline, what happens to you?
Yeah. Do I just poof and disappear? I don't know.
Well, more so than that, because you had said that in your current timeline, when you came back, you just vanished.
Yeah. Never returned home from work.
Huh?
I said he never returned home from work. He went off to work and missing persons, the whole nine.
So, do you all of a sudden reappear in 2030 to people that you know?
Yeah, I
or
don't
do you
know.
not know the answer to that question?
I don't.
And if so, is it kind of like, will it coincide with the day that you vanished and they won't even know like you vanished?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question.
I'm full of weird crap, man.
No, I mean, I appreciate you. I do. You're giving me an opportunity. And, like I said, people fear what they don't know.
Yeah, I said that to you before, yeah.
So
and you said also, true, well, this is very true, if time travel exists, then it's always existed.
Always. I mean, there's no denying that, because you could just go anywhere. You could go back to the beginning. Day
you see the
one.
movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve?
I don't think so. That might be
Watch
Paul.
That
might be concept. Paul's genre or age. I'm only giving him a hard time because he's not here.
So you're like in your 30s or 40s, in this timeline. I mean, you got to go out and get your groove on sometimes. I would imagine. What do you do? Hey, baby, I'm a time traveler. What's your sign?
I haven't been in a relationship since I came back, so
Yeah,
it's hard to start something off with, hey, I'm from 2030 and I'm here to save humanity. Can I buy you a drink? I just don't think it works out that way.
that's the perfect pickup line, man. You think about it, really.
But I'm completely sane, I swear. It's not going to work.
Let's see. Will it be a cashless society or will we still use cash?
Nah, fiat currency is going away soon, very, very soon. So if you're listening, and I'm not a financial advisor, I'd never put stuff out there for you guys to consume that wasn't legit. Start looking into ways to hedge against a dollar collapse, because not only is it going to collapse, it's going to go away entirely.
Yeah, I've been myself personally. I've been dabbling a little bit in cryptocurrency.
I'm about to go full tilt with the cryptocurrency. Have a guy that does complete analytics, and I want to help as many people as I can get in a good position before this goes kaplunk.
I mean, obviously, Bitcoin is the most popular. There was one that I kind of got a little, like, kind of freaked a little bit, and I got out of. I didn't know if it was going to crash. And this was right around when a couple weeks ago when Bitcoin went straight down to about 28. Was Maker.
Yeah, Maker's good.
And
all the DeFi
went up to over 1,700.
Yeah, all the DeFi stuff is really good. Alave is good. There's a lot of opportunity out there. So I'm actually going to go back to TikTok, and I'm actually just going to do stuff like that because they don't like when I tell you guys the truth at all.
Let me ask you one more crypto.
Okay.
Or Stellar Lumens.
I mean, I push XRP pretty heavy.
Ripple.
Yeah. And it would be it would be counterproductive to not say that Stellar was good. It's a good place to put your money. It's a good place to trade.
Let's see. Linda wants to know, are you sure you will be here to 2030? I'm thinking the answer to that is no.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that. So my objective is a single act. As to other objectives, could be a multi-year objective. So I don't know. I don't even know if I make it past that point. I don't know. So I can't give you a yes on that.
But you don't even know when that is. You'll just know, right? Is this one of those? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just know.
Okay.
They will definitely inform me.
That's got to be scary.
Waking
up and going, I wonder if today's the day.
I don't do it as much anymore.
You don't stress over it as much anymore.
When things start to get a little crazy in the world, like all of 2020 was, I'm gripping the steering wheel type scenario. But it's only when things start to get crazy. If it's a slow news day, I think I'm pretty safe to go and do my thing. But yeah, it is a little stressful.
As far as life after this, have you been informed or has there been any conversation or information given to you about that, whether it is or it isn't, or what happens?
I've come back with after that exchange please understand that was this entity 7-8 feet from me. That kind of exchange. After that, I've come back with some things. I know that this isn't the end. I know that when you EOL here, that there's something else.
EOL, end of life.
End of life, yeah. Sorry. I'm a soldier. That's the, we just terminology sometimes. There's something else. There's something. And we all go to it. I don't think it's based on belief. I just think it's,
It's energy.
Yeah, we all go to it.
What are the medical miracles? Are they going to be, or what are they in 2030, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's medical miracles. Are we saying up to 2030, like in the next decade? We'll combat cancer really well. This nanotechnology, ironically enough, all this huge scare about these nanobots being in this vaccine, and none of that is true. I'm so glad
you said that, because that was going to be my finishing question for you today.
None of that is true, but we are to the point where we are exploring this technology. They will, I don't want to say abolish cancer, but we will fight it very aggressively, with a very high success rate, as well as being able to do away with things like diabetes. Yeah, we're right on the cusp of a revolution in the medical industry. So,
do you listen to other things, conspiracy theories, and people that claim that they know the future, or they've been, they're back from the future, and you sit there and you have a sip of whatever the beverage of choice is,
right,
and say, dude, that's straight up cap.
Yeah, all the time.
And if so, what is the strangest far out thing that you've heard that's like, what a bunch of crap?
I mean, I've heard a lot, but yeah, the strangest, most far out thing that in 3037, or, all this stuff predicting all of this long, far out 1,000 years, this huge futuristic life where we have cars flying around. I don't get that. I don't get that vibe from these beings. I think our life will obviously enhance. We will become we will merge with technology. But as far as like this place where, we have cities floating in the sky, and yeah, I don't think we get to that point. I don't think that that's on the radar. It's great for imagination, but
it's good TV.
Yeah, I mean, it's just to bring you in. Sort of when I do this kind of crazy stuff on my videos, it's only meant to bring you in and have you stay for a while. Mm-hmm. I do it to grab you, and then I want to give you the truth. A lot of these guys pass this. Why would you come back 1,000 years? What's the point of that? If you knew something was going to happen, and why would you send somebody back 1,000 years? There's going to be a huge period just to adjust. We're human. We're all human. Could you imagine sending me back to, I don't know, say the 800s? I'm not going to be able to survive. I'm not going to know how to act. It makes no sense.
Are you afraid of consequences from them by coming out and talking and giving information?
From them by who? Like the alien, or
right? Yeah,
the other 7, or I've been in contact with both of them. I
know you got
both
some pullback
the alien.
One.
Yeah. So my counterparts think this is crazy. They're like, I'll give it to you, brutally honest. They don't believe you deserve this. They believe we are here to serve a purpose. We should stay on that path. We should not deviate. And that no one said individual deserves this information. So, I mean, that's how it was presented to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not built that way, you know? And I think that these beings knew that when they selected all of us. So I don't think I'm stepping out of bounds here, you know? And I've been contacted since by, you know, these entities. I've never been reprimanded for what I'm doing. I know what not to say to you,
Sure.
but, you know, yeah, I'm not afraid. I was in the beginning. I mean, it took a long time. It's taken years. I could have came out in 2012 and said, "Hey, look, I'm back." You know?
Well, I'm certainly glad you came out, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
bad time travel joke. I got a lot of bad time travel jokes. Here's somebody you know. At least I know from online. Kimberly, you have a
Yeah.
good heart, Joe.
Well, thank you. Don't tell anybody that. You guys are not supposed to be telling these people that I'm a good guy. Okay?
I don't say anything.
No, I appreciate it. You know, there's some people that have been there since the beginning, you know. Kim is one of them. And yeah, you know,
Actually, I was too, man. I was creeping on your page right when you started.
That's good. I'm glad.
It took me a while to say something too.
Yeah. I mean, what, about a month ago we started talking?
Yeah, about that.
I appreciate it though, you know.
Yeah, well, I have some good ideas that I think they're good ideas. I think we can probably roll with as far as getting information out, but that's something that we need to talk about. But just before we wrap it up for today, one thing that I will say is that whenever people say, "Oh, hey, you're having that time traveler guy again," and I go, "Yeah." Now, mind you, Joe, people watch live, but more people will watch later on this
Right.
afternoon. You know,
Right.
through the week. And I've had people come up to me and say, "You believe that guy?" And I said, "Well, yeah, actually, I do." And I've had pullback within my own house, which I think is funny, but it doesn't matter to me. But I will say, basically, because I said it to you, and then you said it right back to me. If it exists, it's always existed.
Yeah.
It's always been there. Who are we to say that it doesn't exist? And I'll go with that, and I'll say, look, whether you believe or you don't believe, take a listen, and then you make up your own mind instead of what somebody else is telling you. That's the first thing. Second thing is a little more analytical on my end. One of the things I told you at the, I think the first time we actually talked was, whenever you say something, it always connects back to something that you have said months ago. And you're saying the same thing. So I was telling my girlfriend, I'm like, look, if this guy's a fake, he's incredibly well rehearsed, because everything he says checks back. You did it again this morning, and I don't even think you realize it. And what I'm talking about is, I want to say maybe 2 months before Christmas, 3 months before Christmas, you started talking about the hand signal that you just did.
Okay. I can show you guys I don't have any notes. You know, like
No, you know what I'm saying though? I mean, it's like
this is the truth, you know. I mean, it's 100% the truth. Now, there are days I wish it wasn't the truth. I mean, it's not easy to wake up and, you know, like you said, know that this could be the day. Or I'm starting to get a little comfortable here. I'm starting to meet people via social media.
Yeah.
Great people. And I would hate to not be here tomorrow, you know, which is another reason why I kept quiet for so long. That way, if I disappear, only my dog would miss me, you know. But none of this is rehearsed, I can assure you.
Maybe you'll have a talk show on Fox.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah,
You,
why
Carl
not?
Sagan.
Why
All
not?
right, I got one more question before we wrap it up. Patrick McCormack that we had on before you went a little long, so I didn't want to take that time away from you.
I
And this is a
appreciate
far
it.
out question. Just an odd question. Men in Black, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Nice. Are they going to come? Have they already neuralized me?
Have they neuralized you? I don't know if they have that capability, but I got to be honest. Like, they've sat outside my house. You know.
Is that who has been watching?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think they've not really intervened because they want to know what I know. And I'm to the point where if I just disappeared tomorrow, a lot of people would ask questions.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, I think it would add. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not something I'm hoping for, but if it did, it would certainly add a lot of credence to what you're talking about.
Yeah, for
You're like,
sure.
boom, where'd he go? Maybe they figured out how to time travel you back a day before you actually vanished.
Right.
You look like you're getting sad there. Kind of see it in your eyes. That's all I can see.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah,
Have you on purpose kind of desensitized yourself for just what's the word I'm looking for? Self-preservation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, well,
I know. Tumultuous said, "Man, you're like the driest guy. You got this dry sense of humor." And I told him, like, listen, if you've lived what I lived, I mean, you would understand. You would understand.
yeah, I would just say it's the meds. That's what I would say.
No meds.
No meds. No, no meds, but I would say it just to see what people would say.
Oh, I gotcha.
All right. We are out of here. It's 10:12 a.m. We're going to kick off the and put it on the bird right now. Joe, we'll talk to you in a little bit later on because like I said, I got a couple of things I want to.
Can I just say thank you to everyone? You know, I'm seeing like the comments that are coming in, and there are people that have followed me. Kim, Anella, Sabina. I mean, there's just a lot of people that I wanted to say thank you to, you know, if that's okay. I don't want to be that guy. Like, you know, I want to say thank you to my mom, and I don't want to be that guy, but
it's all good, Joe.
All right, man. I'll see you next week.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk in between.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Have a good week, pal. Thank you.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Thanks. All right. That is Joe, our resident time traveler from parts unknown. Obviously, he's of American descent, just because you can tell he's, you know, his voice. Betsy just went on and said, "How can we follow you?" You can go ahead and follow him on Instagram. On Instagram, it's 72030, or it's spelled a little different. It's SE7EN 2030 on Instagram, and he'll be back once again next Thursday at 9:05 Eastern time. Once again, this show has gotten very, very popular. Not only just with people watching it on its inception, but the views that it wraps up, you know, during the week. So thank you very much for joining in once again. And we hope you have a great week. But again, we'll see you tomorrow. It's Friday on SNSN Internet Radio. Have a good day.
You buy better. Better with Burns. Much better. So much better with Burns.